Joining me for a cup of tea today is a girl on a mission, Mel Thomas. Mel is a mother, a martial artist and an advocate for kids living with domestic violence. With statistics like 40% of women have experienced violence since the age of 15, and on average, 1 woman a week is killed by a partner in Australia, Mel decided to move away from awareness campaigns and towards warm-hearted, cool-headed violence preventions. She began a program called the KYUP project, where she teaches martial arts workshops to women and girls in hope that other sufferers can defend themselves in violent situations. But I wanted to ask Mel her advice for anyone watching today that might be in a situation that they don't know how to get out of. I want you to lean in and hear what Mel has to say. Mel, welcome to Tea with Jules. It is such a pleasure to have you here today. I am very, very interested in hearing your story. It's an incredible story, and I probably am going to cry. So just so you know.
If you cry, I'll cry.
It's a subject very close to my heart, and something that I personally want to see a change in the world, and I know you feel the same way. So I appreciate your...
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, your
Thanks
openness.
for giving this issue some airtime.
Yeah, it definitely needs it, for sure.
Yes.
And on a much shallower level, this is Tea with Jules,
Yes.
and we're drinking tea.
Yes.
Are you a tea drinker?
I'm definitely a tea drinker, but I like all the herbal hippie teas.
Great. Well, we've got some herbal hippie for you. We've got peppermint.
Lovely.
So
My
please
favourite.
feel free to drink the tea.
I would love to have some tea.
Okay, good. Your story is one of growing up in a family where your father was violent with you and your mum and your sister. Through the eyes of a child, what is that like?
So as an adult looking back, I can see that I was very disempowered and I didn't have a voice, but growing up, it was my normal. And I've discovered that it was very normal for a lot of other kids too. As a little girl, you realise something's not quite right, but you don't really know what it is.
Any different.
And I grew up at a time when we didn't have domestic violence campaigns. There was no word for it. No kids ever came to school and said, I'm living with welfare issues, or I think I'm having family violence problems at home. Your dad hit you and your dad hit mum, and you dealt with it the way that you did. And it wasn't until I was much older, even now really, through KYUP Project and the work I'm doing now, that I came to understand the landscape of it. But as a child, it was just family life. You tried not to set him off. That's a really common thing for kids living with family violence. And you know, sadly, there are times where you get frustrated with your mum, who's really the victim. And as a little girl, you think, God, don't upset him, don't say anything, because we're all going to cop it.
Yeah, so always trying to be on your best behaviour.
Yes, walking on eggshells, but not really knowing you're walking on eggshells. I mean, I was a really sensitive little girl.
Yeah.
Nothing like I am now in terms of like shy and withdrawn, and my confidence was almost like a false confidence, because there was always that little voice in the back of my head that comes from hearing your loved ones talk badly to each other, or in my case with dad talking badly to me, and that would become a little bit of a narrative through my childhood and through my teen years.
And when you became a teenager, your mum got the strength to get out of that relationship with your dad.
Yeah.
How did she do it?
I mean, my mum was a pretty courageous, bold woman, and you know, she was quite young when she married my dad, and I'm so proud of her. And the multiple attempts it took for her to leave that relationship. Something that people probably don't realise is that as a little girl, the last thing you want is for your parents to break up. It doesn't matter whether or not dad's violent or mum's disempowered, you know, you just want mum and dad to stay together. So it certainly wouldn't have been easy for her the first few times that I know she tried to leave with me as a little girl that wanted my parents to stay together. When she finally did break that cycle, it was bloody hard You know, she was working 2 jobs to make ends meet. She wasn't able to take anything from that relationship. We literally left with the clothes on our back and some suitcases, and my mum built this whole new life for us.
So that day, where did you guys go?
That day we went to my grandmother's house. So, but there were times when we'd left and there was nowhere to go. So, you know, I remember being once, we were down in a park, there wasn't always a place to go. Mum didn't have a car, she didn't have a license. She was financially controlled by Dad. I mean, isn't she an incredible lady?
Yes.
And 2 little kids.
Yeah. Domestic violence to me, it's not something that I've personally, you know, experienced. My dad is awesome, my husband is awesome. I'm surrounded by good men in my life, so I don't know what it is about this subject that just gets me. I just feel like it's so unfair. No one should live like that in their home. Home should be a safe haven. So I feel very passionate.
I'm glad you do.
Yeah, I do. I feel really passionate about it, and you know, I want to do something to help. And I know that you feel the same way, having come from this place. Why do you think people abuse?
It's a learned behaviour, for one. So it's a controlling behaviour, and they're trying to control. I don't know why everybody does what they do, but I do know that coming at it with finger pointing and anger doesn't work. We need to come at it with compassion, and we need to have a much bigger, wholehearted conversation about people that abuse. I mean, honestly, my father, I don't think that was his legacy. I think that if he could have his time again, would he want me here talking about this?
Right.
No, but giving children living with family violence a voice is so necessary if you really want to break that cycle, if you're really serious about it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're just going to repeat it. I did.
Yeah, so you got out of your home, abusive home, and you went into an abusive relationship.
Yeah, and it wasn't intentional. I was dating controlling guys that felt self-entitled, that were probably living with family violence themselves. And I think I had maybe 2 or 3 boyfriends, but my last boyfriend that ever hurt me, you know, it was such a minor disagreement. I'll never forget it. And he completely disfigured me. That was a real turning point for me. I went, right, that's it, no more. This won't happen anymore. Yeah.
How would somebody identify, without, of course, you know, being disfigured? What are the subtle things we're talking about here?
Intimate partner violence is all about control. So subtle signs like, you know, are you going to wear that? I don't like that friend. Or maybe spend less time with your mum. Just these little controlling things, and it circles and it spirals and it grows. And it's interesting when I work with kids in workshops and I talk to them about domestic violence and intimate partner violence, and a lot of these girls straight away can say to me, I see that my father is violent towards me, but then there's this penny that drops where they go, oh my God, my boyfriend's doing it. It's impossible to explain how emotional that feels even now.
Yeah. It makes me so angry. I'm angry.
It's good. Some people need to get angry, and some people are going to get emotional, and some people won't feel anything at all. That's what I'm trying to change.
Yeah.
Feel something.
And so with these workshops that you're doing in the schools, KYUP.
KYUP. Yes.
Because you do martial arts is your thing.
It's my thing.
And so
jam.
explain to me these workshops that you're doing with kids around domestic violence.
So I work with girls, usually about 50 or 100 girls at a time, and it's so much fun. We talk about our intuition. They don't even know what intuition is. They don't know they're in a situation that doesn't feel right.
Right.
How they're supposed to know how to get out of it. So we talk about intuition, we talk about the power of our voice, how to turn around that negative self-talk, which is so important for so many girls that are having body image issues, self-esteem issues, dealing with past violence. So when I walk in to that auditorium or school hall or function, there's 40% of girls that have already experienced violence. I know that. Yeah, it's big, huh?
Really big.
Yeah. So I'm talking to them because I want them to be able to put it behind them learn from it, and understand and accept that they're doing the best they can with the experience of the skills they have.
You're giving them the awareness.
Giving them awareness.
Yep.
And we're also giving them some moves. So
Yeah.
we do head, shoulders, knees and toes. And I teach girls how to get out of someone pulling their hair, how to get out of someone pulling at your arms or your body, and how to physically sort of protect yourself.
And the other thing I love that you do is that you say to them, you are worth protecting.
Yes.
I love that.
And they have to say
hear.
they're strong and they're courageous and they are worth protecting, and they have to say it really loud. Really loud.
What about for, say, your mum or a woman in a domestic violence situation? What are some steps that they can do to get themselves out of these situations?
I think really the first step is acknowledging that it's happening. Honestly, there are so many mums out there who they're shell-shocked, and it really is, that's a state of being. They need to acknowledge that it's happening. You can and should go down to the local police station and specifically ask for domestic violence liaison officers. They are there. I've had the good fortune of meeting quite a lot of them through my work, and they are extraordinary human beings that are trained to deal specifically with the huge issues that are confronting these women. Community centres, women's shelters, they are there. But it all comes down to that one first step, that it's happening, acknowledge it. If you can't do it for yourself, do it for your kids. That's who I'm talking on behalf of.
Yeah.
Do it for your kids.
I think you're onto a really good thing with kids and teenagers, because you have the opportunity and the chance to maybe, just maybe, alter someone's path. Your formative moments where you make decisions about the rest of your life, and if you can catch them at that time, for them to make good decisions, to identify what's happening with them, to not date that guy because he's doing that.
Yeah.
Like, I think that is, it's so, so powerful before it gets to the bad.
Totally.
To the bad
You
place.
Totally get it, Jules, because that's what this is about. And the self-protection skills, look, they're just tools that I've learned to feel stronger. But ultimately, what it comes down to is helping girls learn they are stronger than they think. And it's so important when you don't feel strong, that you actually physically go, I can actually defend myself, or I can yell out and I can say what I mean and mean what I say. And that's my right, and I can claim it.
You have an amazing husband now who you met, and he pretty much altered your path.
Yes. So I meet this guy, and I was about 18 years old, and his car wasn't stolen, and his family hadn't had any prior convictions or anything, and I thought, wow, what a winner.
Start. That's a great start.
Anyway, he took me along to this martial arts grading to show off, pretty much, and it bloody worked, because
First date, was that the first
yeah, one
date?
of our first dates, like our third date, and I was so impressed by all the women. I thought they were amazing.
Not by him. Yeah.
No, I thought he was pretty good too, because it's been 22 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And he was just a good man.
He's a good guy. He was a good guy. But I looked for a good guy. I wanted a guy that didn't drink too much. I wanted a guy that didn't gamble and cared about his family.
And I think that is such a message, like, for anybody watching, any girl watching.
Yeah.
That's what you deserve, actually.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you do.
you don't deserve anything less than a good man. What is your, I suppose, your biggest dream or goal with KYUP and the kids that you work with?
My big, hairy, audacious goal is that we would see this type of violence prevention education as standard in schools. We teach girls how to swim between the flags. We teach them how to protect their skin from the sun, how to drive a car. But what about when a situation doesn't feel right? Guys staying too close on a train.
Yeah.
Or you're in a destructive relationship. And I would love to see this type of self-worth and self-protection education standard, normal for boys and girls.
Great dream. Mel, what you're doing is great.
Thank you, Jules.
I am fully supportive of that. Guy and I, my husband, run the Sebastian Foundation, and we are on a similar mission. We work closely with women's and girls' shelters.
Absolutely.
So here's to safety
Yes.
and a better world.
And strong girls.
Yes.
Courageous girls.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your work.
Thanks for having me and being part of this movement that is going to change the next generation. We can do it. Gen Z.
Yes.
Break the cycle.
I'm in.
Yep.
Let's do it.
Cheers. Cheers to that.
Cheers. Thank you, Mel.
Thanks, Jules.